Welcome to our Stars and Stripes sit down presented by Toyota. The Philadelphia 76ers and Toyota are partnering to celebrate Military Appreciation Night against Cleveland. And we are so pleased to be joined not only by 76ers guard Reggie Jackson, but especially pleased to be joined by SEAC retired John Wayne Troxell of the United States Army, the third senior enlisted advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And after that title, we're going to ask you, what else, John, can you share about your background?
Well, Matt, first of all, thanks for allowing me to be here. And it's truly an honor to be here with Reggie. We were chatting before we started the show and already building a bond based off of our military experiences, him growing up as, the son of an Air Force veteran careerist and me being an Army career. So it's an honor to be here. But I joined the Army when I was 18. I was looking for purpose, motivation, and direction. I found it in the Army. 6 months after I joined, I found something that people frown upon. Initially, I found a lady that I fell in love with, and we got married. And my wife, Sandra, and I have been married 41 years. She was on this 38-year journey with me. And like I said, I found my purpose. I found my direction. I found my motivation and everything in the military. And I never thought that I would reach the pinnacle of the enlisted ranks in the Department of Defense, working directly for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Secretary of Defense and advising the administration. But that's what I found. And so after that 38-year career, I retired and I started my own consulting company. And I'm a leadership coach, a motivational speaker, brand ambassador, and I'm a published author of my memoir, Surrender or Die: Reflections of a Combat Leader. And I focus on three things now. How do I continue to pay it forward to the men and women that are still in military by assisting them any way I can with leadership talks, visits, things like that? How do I pay it back to my fellow veterans by assisting them with employment and things like that? And then how do I continue to make life comfortable for my family through my business efforts and what I'm doing now? And how do I build a future for my grandchildren? And that's what I'm focusing on now. So, Matt, it's an honor to be here. So thank you and Reggie so much for allowing me to be here.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing and bringing Reggie in. Now, we know the question of why is it important to give back to service members and their family, but this is personal for you, Reggie Jackson. Why is that the case? Why is that so important?
Especially just to honor my dad, everything that he did, sacrifice that he made, especially being in the Air Force, to understand how quickly somebody could be deployed, how quickly lives can change to military service members, and especially their families. I always feel like it's good to try to interact as much as possible with those who share the same experiences and give back in a way to those who similar challenges that I've experienced growing up. So it was fun chatting with John so far already. Just kind of finding out background, kind of talk about the similar lifestyle of the military. I know he's actually lived it. He was the one employed. He's the one that's also fought for our freedom. So thank you so much, John. And I'm just a child of my dad, who also was enlisted, who also served his time for the country. And I just always enjoy these talks. I always like anytime you can humanize people, anytime you can kind of meet up and make connections, share experiences is always fun. So I hope we can get back to these great comments that we already had, but I was having a blast when we were chatting before we got started.
Yeah, Air Force stationed abroad. I think some basketball fans will know that you were born in Italy. At the time we're talking now, you actually recently just played against the only other active Italian-born NBA player in Detroit's Simone Fontecchio. But how did those experiences growing up, how did those affect you and the rest of your family?
I mean, being abroad was amazing. I born abroad, didn't come to America until five and a half. Having brothers who were 18 years older than me, so probably being that young punk just following around. Remember being in the neighborhood, especially when we were in England, just playing like backyard soccer, just getting different experiences, seeing how people kind of, it's a little bit different. I mean, just a little bit different culture-wise, but it was just fun to be around, experience overseas life at the time until I came to America, and then got back around closer to family, more bonds that my dad and mom had formed, being around people that I was a lot more familiar with. But Honestly, I think it just taught me to be appreciation, really about connection to my family, being close to those who I feel comfortable with. But then there was a great sense of community even being overseas, whether it was the military community and also living off base at the time, those within the community. So those are the things that I just really remember. I think I always just try to be a blessing to others because I'm very much blessed and always traveling, always kind of being the new kid on the block or new person. I think I was taught me just find comfort in who I am quickly, things that I like, things that I'm interested in, and then really um, being open to meeting anybody and everybody. Just because you all understand that we're going through this walk of life and we're all trying to experience very much similar things. Happiness, joys, connection to others, and honestly, just trying, like I said, trying to be a blessing to others, trying to see myself in others, and trying to see, hopefully, allow others to see themselves in me, and just make great lifetime connections and bonds, and make the world a better place.
And as the two of you were connecting, John, it seemed like you were especially intrigued just more about Reggie's background and those experiences abroad.
Well, so I raised three sons myself that are live the same life as Reggie, and listening to Reggie talk about his experiences, it's exactly what a military child goes through. Um, they go through these constant moves all over the world, and they have to start up and make new friends all the time, and and then they have to embrace other cultures. So it's a difficult for a child, but more importantly, as Reggie was alluding to, it broadens the military child to a point that they see the world a lot more clearer than a traditional American kid that grows up and only knows the United States of America, which is why military children, I may be a little biased saying this, why military children are so special because they have just grown significantly through their worldly travels and constantly going to different schools. My my sons, in the course of 1 year, we went from Fort Drum, New York, to Fort Polk, Louisiana, to Fort Lewis, Washington, and they went to three different high schools in 1 year. And so that's pretty difficult for any child to have to go through. But as a military child, you get accustomed to it and you build this grit. And that's what listening to Reggie tell his story, that's what I take from that. That's what I get from my children all the time, who are all three successful in their careers now. So yeah, it's something special. It's demanding, the military life, for not just the service member, but the family and everything. But in the end, I think and Reggie Jackson is a shining example of what life can lead to, through being a military child.
Sound about right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, especially a kid. Hopefully, his kids have experienced it. Is your parents very much, especially the parent who's in the military, is learning this discipline base. Like they have these set of rules. So I think you're very good. You learn how to like control your environment, have success, and do everything you can to set up your own self to create your own success. But at the same time, then you are also blessed to then be in the world and have to be humbled, and you really are have to experience humility because you are in these new cultures. You're very much the outsider. You have to sometimes embrace being seen as the outsider, and then coming in, like I said, very humble, very much willing to learn other people's cultures, very much willing to just find where you kind of fall into your new setting, and then just make friends from there. So it was all like it was very difficult as a kid at first, but then I kind of learned to appreciate it, and especially within my profession now within the basketball world. I always say it's a revolving door. You can be traded. You never know what's going to happen. But the best thing is it taught me how to make, I think, everlasting bonds with people that I've been able to come across within my 14-year NBA career so far. So I'm very much thankful to my roots and my dad's path and what the military has done for me in terms of creating discipline, and also really instilling this humility within me. Also, I think helping me with already being a very inquisitive person by giving me so many experiences to come across just amazing people and amazing cultures, and just trying to be a child of the world and go out there and pass out positivity.
John, nearly 38 years of service. You are the an honorary captain of this Stars and Stripes game. There are challenges associated with this type of life and career. So when it comes to the transition from military life to civilian life, what are some of the biggest challenges?
So the key challenge, and I don't, whether you stay in for one tour, 4 to 5 years, or whether you're like me for 38 years, you get institutionalized to military life. You have a structure, you have a level of discipline, a level of focus and everything. And all of a sudden, now you're going into an environment where, yeah, you still, out in the corporate world or in business or in post-military jobs, you still have that same thing, but it's a little bit different. So I always talk about this when people leave military service. I use this phrase, don't be lost in your museum. You've done a lot of great things for your country in uniform. You've had a lot of accolades. You've done great stuff, but that's what's happened in the past. So what is your path for your future now? And that's the hardest part, is understanding what is your post-military identity going to be. Yes, you want to use the knowledge, skills, and attributes that you've learned with your experience in the military at getting post-military work or enjoying your post-military life. But in the end, you can't look backward. You got to continue to look forward, chart a path, have a vision, be purposeful in getting after it. And in the end, just go out and get it done, actualize it.
Reggie, when we think about some of the core values of the United States military, excellence, duty, commitment, how do you see those kind of show up in the NBA on the court and off the court?
Of course, not at the same level. Not the same things are on the same lines. But I guess for our wins and losses, what we have to do and how we experience it is each and every day. Something I learned from, like I said, watching my dad grow up and watching military service is just that commitment each and every day. One thing I think I very much appreciated was learning what I'm sure John can try to attest to is on the bad days. Like, there is not a bad day. There's you personally probably feel sick. There's things that can be going on outside of your control within the world, but just that kind of excellence and standard that the military has altogether is really just, I believe, is one of the very mentally straining, but it's one of the most best mental exercises ever, is learning how to be able to psych yourself out, how to find your joy for the day, how to continue to push towards your purpose. And then at the end of the day, how do you recruit? How do you figure out how do you get better? If you're feeling well, how do you reflect upon it to come out and then try to repeat the next day or have excellence and greatness again? So I think just from a lot of high level athletes, we kind of understand the grind of not necessarily always feeling your best, but having to be at your best at all times. So that's something, like I said, I was just always thankful from learning as a kid and watching those who really protect us and who go out here and fight for our freedoms and make sure that, we are able to experience life the way we are here in the U.S.
Hey, Matt, do you mind? Can I ask Reggie a question?
Please.
It's not every day that, you get a seasoned NBA veteran in front of you, an NBA champion, but more importantly, a young man that grew up a military life. Reggie, we all know that, athletics overseas for military kids, there's not a lot of military kids that are able to go on and reach their dream in professional athletics. Some would say that Reggie Jackson's a unicorn, because there's not a lot of you that make it this far. Along your path, and you just talked about being resilient and being positive and everything. Did you ever was there ever a time when you thought this may not happen? Or how did you overcome any adversity to continue to get on to your dream and have this stellar career that you've had?
Honestly, my part of it might be being able to be here is honestly probably from the military background. A lot of athletes, I would say, probably in the military don't necessarily have the chance because you kind of have to be to have a chance. Either you can be really, really great, or your parent probably retires when you're a little bit around high school area age,
Sure.
so that you can. Luckily, that's what happened to me. My dad retired we were stationed in Colorado. He retired right before we were going to be moved again. So I got to get some familiarity within the area. My name got to get some buzz, which hopefully helped with recruiting and all. But I think the biggest thing is a lot of time military kids, I'm like, they can have the success if they have that luck of it, of being seen. But I think the one thing we learn a lot of times military kids is like there is no room for not success. Like you're gonna find something you love, and it's just resiliency. Like I've learned on bad days, like I've learned to believe in myself more than anybody around me. I'm gonna have to believe in myself so that others believe in me. But the biggest thing was finding a way to just continue to push through. Like I think that's what stuck most. And a lot of times I talk to friends I grew up with, they're like, that was the thing that was a separator, was they don't remember me really taking too many days off. And for me, it was always just, I planned it, so it was going to happen. I remember at 5 years old, I dreamed of it. And then more so, my brothers helped me. Of course, my dad's discipline. Those things were like, if I believe it, I dream it, I write it down, I stick to it. And I actually approach it with like a military discipline, which is things I just did from a young age. Whether it was getting up at like 5 a.m., making sure I was going to get to the gym at 5 a.m. prompt to get my lift in, then make sure I was on the court, cleaned up after myself. Like those little things just being instilled with that discipline and that work regimen and that understanding that you find a way even when you don't like it that day is really, I think, is what propelled me to be here in the position I am now. And it's just something that I'm trying to take even further in the sports, just continue it in my lifestyle and understand that I am very seasoned. One day, hopefully I can join you in the retired game. Hopefully not anytime soon. But I am starting to realize that like these are traits that I've learned throughout my life, just being able to play sports, these are things that I'm going to take into my next life. And similar how you're saying, it's like I'm going to have this trophy of things, that accolades, and be happy about my career, but I'm going to have to find a way to continue to push forward and take a lot of these traits that I've learned growing up as a kid and that I've learned from military life and from sports and propel it into my next version of me so that I can still find happiness and find my purpose.
You know, if I could finish this one off, Matt, what you just said, you just somehow, I think you're reading my brain here, Reggie, because I talk to service members and I talk to people in business and I say, dream big. All right. And set lofty but attainable goals, and then be disciplined through the process. You might have to be getting up at 5 a.m. to lift and all that stuff. Visualize yourself going through the steps to get that goal or reach that goal. And then all you have to do is go out and actualize it and get it done. I love the way you said that because it mirrors what we tell our folks in the military throughout their career, but more importantly, in their post-military career. So I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate the talk. I said, no, they're way more than capable. And I hope all the retirees, like they know, because to go through everything you've done and do everything you've done so far for our country, like you're way more than capable. It's just now transferring that same mindset that you had, whether it be in your mindset, like I'm going to make it home or I'm going to provide for my family. Now it's just continually to just move it into the next box. And you're already great. Never doubt it. And just remember, you're going to have those same ups and downs, but you are resilient and you've already prepared for this. So that's something I always try to remember even on my bad days and days I get down on something like, oh wait, I'm already prepared for it. Now it's a new game and I'm just trying to figure out how to win.
100%.
That capability, that resiliency. Reggie, earlier you mentioned just fighting for our freedom. So for military service members and their families who are watching this event, what further message do you have to them?
Honestly, just thank you so much for your sacrifice. It's honestly the biggest sacrifice you can make. Like I always tell people, I'm very thankful for what I do, but I play a child's game. All I do is you go out there, you try to entertain those who watch, you try to take their mind off the world for a little bit, and just try to be joy or a beacon of hope. But for those who are actually laying their lives on lines, for those who are making sure that we're okay, leaving their families, unsure of a return, thank you is not enough. It's what I can offer. And hopefully our whole nation actually understands, like, we all play a part in what we do, but there is an ultimate sacrifice at the end of the day, and those who lay their lives down for their country at the end of the day. Hopefully you pay your respects. Hopefully you take time to get to know those, and hopefully you just pray over them, like pray over loved ones, pray over those who are military or servicemen, servicewomen, and ultimately, like I said, just try to bring joy when you do notice, and try to give your respects, and just try to ultimately be thankful and understand that a lot of our freedoms that we have is because what they do. And yeah, there is no greater sacrifice in life.
Very well said. And for our hiring our heroes and Toyota ambassador, John, what else can you share about your work there?
Well, I absolutely love working with Hiring Our Heroes and Toyota. First of all, Hiring Our Heroes is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's nonprofit, and Toyota is the number one sponsor for Hiring Our Heroes. And collectively, we focus on assisting transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses, especially, with gaining meaningful employment. Like Reggie talked about his family, and through 22 years of his father's service, they moved all the time. And that still happens to our service members today. And when the military spouse is looking to gain a career, sometimes that can be difficult because it could be regionally or base focused. And so if they move to another base overseas or whatever, they may lose that job. So what we do at Hiring Our Heroes in Toyota is look to make a seamless process for those transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses, so they can have the kind of employment in their post-military life, or for a spouse as they're supporting their service member, that is commensurate with what we expect them to do in uniform, or as a military family supporting their loved one. So I absolutely enjoy it, and it's a way for me to get after one of those key three tenets of giving back to my fellow veterans and their families.
Well, thank you both so much for an important conversation, and thanks to everyone who tuned in.